The Setagaya Family. In the streets of Setagaya, Tokyo, a heartbreaking story unfolded on a cold winter's night in 2000. The Miyazawa family dad, Mieko, mom Yasuko, and their kids, Nina and Rei, met a terrible fate in their own home, a crime that still puzzles Japan today. It started when the neighbors noticed lights on in the Miyazawa house for days. Worried, they called the police to check out the place. What they found inside was utterly shocking. The family had been tied up and brutally stabbed. The scene was chaotic, as if the person responsible had been searching for something among the chaos they left behind. As investigators looked into the case, they discovered even more disturbing details. The killer didn't just attack the family. They stayed in the house for hours afterward. They used the family's things, went online on their computer, and even helped themselves to food, a sign of how little they cared about the lives they'd taken. There have been many suspects, but up till now, no one has been caught. The Setagaya family mystery leaves everyone without answers. It leaves everyone wondering what happened that tragic night and hoping one day justice for the Miyazawas will be served. The Summerton Man. On a sunny December 1st, 1948, a man was found dead on Summerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. But this was no ordinary death. The man had no identification, no wallet, no labels on his clothes. It was as if he appeared out of thin air. The police were baffled. They searched for clues, but every lead ended in a dead end. The man's identity remained a mystery. No one knew his name, his age, or his occupation. But that's not all. The man had a cryptic code in his pocket containing the words Tamam Shud, meaning it is finished in Persian. The code was torn from a rare book, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The police found the book, but it offered no answers. Theories began to surface. Was he a spy, a codebreaker, or a victim of a secret society? Some believe he was a former soldier, others a scientist. Adding to the intrigue, the man was found with an unused train ticket and a half-smoked cigarette. His shoes were very clean, suggesting he hadn't been wandering the beach. Despite these strange details, no one came forward to claim him or even recognize him. Years later, in 1949, a suitcase linked to the man was found at a nearby railway station. It contained clothes with the labels removed, a stencil kit used by merchant seamen, and a mysterious thread not available in Australia. Yet again, the puzzle deepened. To this day, the Summerton Man story remains one of the greatest mysteries in Australian history. Charles Walton. Charles Walton was born in 1870 in Lower Quinton, Warwickshire, England. He spent his entire life in the small village, working primarily as an agricultural laborer. Walton was known to be a quiet and withdrawn man, often seen carrying a walking stick and accompanied by his dog. Despite his solitary nature, Walton had extensive knowledge of local folklore and rural traditions. Some villagers believed he had peculiar abilities, such as communicating with animals, and there were rumors that he had practiced witchcraft. Walton lived with his niece, Edith Walton, who he had raised after the death of her parents. On February 14, 1945, he went out to trim the hedges on a local farm but did not return home. The mutilated body of Charles Walton was discovered in a field he had worked just below Meon Hill. Walton's throat had been slashed deeply by his own trouncing hook. His body was also pinned to the floor by a pitchfork, and there was a cross etched into his chest. Till now, people wonder what must have happened to Charles. Was it a religious killing, or was his death related to sorcery? It continues to remain one of the most chilling crimes in the United Kingdom. The Sauter Children. On Christmas Eve in 1945, a fire broke out at the Sauter family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. George and Jenny Sauter, along with their 9 children, 5 boys and 4 girls, ranging in age from 3 to 14, were asleep inside. When the fire was finally extinguished, 5 of the children were missing. Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny, 8, and Betty, 5. Strangely, no remains were ever found in the ashes, leading to suspicions and various theories about their fate. In the days leading up to the fire, several unusual incidents occurred. George, who was a vocal critic of the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini in Italy, had a heated argument with a stranger who tried to sell him life insurance, warning that his house would go up in smoke and his children would be destroyed due to his political views. Another suspicious man was seen watching the children as they came home from school. On the night of the fire, their telephone line had been cut, and their ladder, which could have aided in the rescue, was found far from its usual place. The family believed the fire was a cover-up for a kidnapping and launched a tireless search for their children. The case remained open until George Sauter's death in 1969. Jenny Sauter continued to search until her death in 1989. The children who survived the fire also continued to search for their missing siblings, but unfortunately, no concrete evidence of their fate has been found. the Jameson Family. In October 2009, the Jameson family of Eufaula, Oklahoma, Bobby, his wife Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison set off for the remote mountains of Oklahoma, looking to purchase a 40-acre plot of land near Red Oak, about 30 miles, 48 kilometers from Eufaula, and have since then gone missing. Days later, their truck was found abandoned. Inside were their IDs, wallets, Sherilyn's purse, a large amount of cash, even when the family was said to be having financial issues, and the family dog, hungry but alive. The family's truck showed no signs of struggle, and their disappearance troubled investigators. Searches of the area turned up nothing, and theories began to circulate. Some suggested they had fallen victim to foul play, while others believed they had staged their own disappearance. Then, 4 years later, in November 2013, hunters came across skeletal remains in the woods, just miles from where the truck was found. The remains were confirmed by Oklahoma medical examiners to be those of the Jameson family, but the cause of death could not be determined because of the state of the decomposition. Speculators ran wild, as some suggested it was a murder-suicide. Others pointed to cult activity or a drug deal gone wrong. The disappearance of Asha Degree. In 2000, a quiet town in North Carolina was shaken by the strange disappearance of 9-year-old Asha Degree. It was Valentine's Day when Asha left her home in the middle of the night during a storm. Her parents had tucked her into bed the night before, but by morning, she was gone. Asha was last seen walking along Highway 18 around 4 a.m., a sighting confirmed by passing motorists. Despite the heavy rain and darkness, she seemed determined. Her family was confused, as Asha was a shy, cautious girl who never wandered off. A massive search soon followed. Asha's backpack was discovered a year later, buried in a wooded area 26 miles away, containing clothes and personal items. This deepened the mystery, as it suggested she had been abducted. Over the years, diverse ideas emerged, but none had led to Asha. Investigators are still piecing together clues, hoping to uncover what drove her into the stormy night and who might have taken her. The unsolved disappearance of Asha Degree remains a haunting case, capturing the hearts of many who continue to hope for answers and her safe return. Peta Gabara. On March 21, 2010 in Mexico City, a 4-year-old Peta Gabara Farah disappeared from her home in Interlomas, a wealthy suburb. It is reported that Paulette was born with a physical disability that impacted her movement and a language disorder that made it challenging for her to communicate, so it would have been impossible for her to leave the apartment unassisted, coupled with the fact that they lived in a high-rise building. The case began when Paulette's parents, Mauricio Gabara and Lizette Farah, put her to bed one evening. The next morning, they discovered she was missing. Desperate searches followed. The police searched the building thoroughly, neighbors joined in, and the media broadcasted her face everywhere. But days went by with no sign of Paulette. Then, a shocking twist set in. After 10 days, her body was found. Not in some remote location, but in her own bedroom, neatly tucked between her mattress and bed frame. How could this be? The discovery shocked investigators. Did someone hide her there? Was it an accident or something diabolical? People speculated about the family's involvement, pointing fingers at everyone, especially at her parents, who were not too concerned about her disappearance, as her mother had made a joke of her daughter being abducted by aliens or Harry Potter. The case took on a life of its own, spread across newspapers and TV screens, holding the nation in disbelief and suspicion. Even after a close and careful examination, the mystery of Peta Gabara Farah remains unsolved to this day. The Dupon de Ligonnès family. Here's the story of a perfect family, living in a beautiful home at 55 Boulevard Robert Schumann, Nantes, France. Xavier Dupont Ligonnès and his wife, Agnes, and their 4 kids, Arthur, Thomas, Anne, and Benoit, theirs was a family that seemed to have it all. But little did anyone know, their lives were about to take a drastic turn. In April 2011, the family's neighbors reported a strange smell coming from the house. And what the police found was beyond shocking. The entire family except Xavier was buried under the back porch. Yes, you heard that right. The investigation that followed was like a puzzle, with missing pieces. No signs of forced entry or struggle, no murder weapon, and no trace of Xavier. There were speculations that Xavier was a cold-blooded killer and that he killed his family. Xavier and Agnes had marital issues, and Agnes had filed a police report against Xavier for assaulting their son, Arthur, in 2005. Also, the family faced financial struggles, relying on Agnes' family inheritance, which was already depleting as at 2011. There were also speculations that he might have had an accomplice, or he was also a pawn in the game of the murder. But the question remains, what happened to this French family? The case remains unsolved till date, leaving us with more questions than answers. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. In 1959, 9 young hikers set out for an adventure in the Ural Mountains of Russia, aiming to reach the peak of Orterten, led by Igor Dyatlov. The group was experienced and excited for the challenge. However, they never made it back. Weeks later, rescuers found their abandoned tent on the side of a mountain now known as Dead Mountain. Strangely, the tent was cut open from the inside, and the hikers' belongings were left behind. Footprints in the snow led the searchers to the bodies of the hikers scattered across the area. The scene was troubling. Some were found barely dressed, despite the freezing cold, suggesting that they had fled in a panic. A few had strange injuries. One had a fractured skull, 2 had severe chest injuries, and 1 woman was missing her tongue and eyes. Despite these odd findings, there were no signs of struggle or other people nearby. Various theories have surfaced over the years, including avalanches, military tests, and even extraterrestrial encounters, but none have been proven. Recent scientific studies into this mystery suggest a slab avalanche might explain the injuries and panic among the hikers. This type of avalanche could cause the severe internal injuries seen without leaving external wounds. Forensic experts also think hypothermia could explain why some hikers undressed before they died. Environmental studies indicate strong winds and the unique terrain might have contributed to the hikers' disorientation and fear. Despite all of these, the mystery still remains a chilling one. Which of these mysteries do you find the most intriguing? The comment section awaits all your questions. For more interesting videos, click the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell. You don't want to miss anything. See you in the next video.